So my name's Alex. I'm responsible for the crypto product and digital asset strategy at Bloomberg. And the group and the team are really laser focused on helping our traditional clients transition to digital asset markets through the familiarity, I would say, of the Bloomberg terminal that I hope many of you love. So what's really important, I think, as Bloomberg perhaps being the OG of data in the room here, to talk about crypto coverage and how we decide that. You might be surprised to know that we've had Bitcoin on the terminal since 2013. After that, we had the top 10 by market cap in 2018. However, coming into this role in mid-2021, we definitely had one challenge, and that challenge was the intense pace of innovation within crypto, with so many more assets out there, with a client base that's extremely interested in those assets. Deciding how to cover those assets in an efficient way was a huge part of the first part of our strategy. And that's really what I want to start talking about. You know, the very top of this pyramid is really concerned with crypto. And what we're focused on is what I would define as the top 50. And it's not by market cap, it's not by liquidity. There's a couple of measures that we use, which we'll get into a little bit later. One other part, that middle area of the pyramid, which is incredibly important to us, is the vast majority of the ways that our more traditional clients get exposure to crypto. And that really is through the myriad of different traditional securities out there that give exposure to crypto. Your ETFs, your futures, even your fixed income instruments, where the use of proceeds are directed into buying Bitcoin. And we probably know what bond that is. The bottom, where we're really not focused in at the moment, though looking at really closely, is what I would define as the 10,000 other cryptocurrencies out there, a lot of the initial coin offerings that happen from time to time, and how this tokenization of real-world asset theme is starting to permeate through markets. One thing we're really focused on is the fixed income piece, but we're not oblivious to what's going on in real estate and other hard assets. But that, again, I think is a super nascent theme that we're focused on, but something that's probably out of scope for the short term, at least from a digital asset strategy. So at Bloomberg, we like data. So I think it's important to define how do we select our top 50 assets. And again, going back to the importance in this pure innovation in this space, it was really important to have a process through which we select crypto assets. One bad thing is perhaps coming in as a product manager is having a laundry list of things you need to do. And one of the classic kind of laundry lists we had was 350,000 customers asking for coverage in crypto. So everything from the ones that we really didn't have that were obvious, like Solana, to ones that, you know, perhaps some of our customers had made from with friends in the back of a kind of back of a garage or something. So we really had to create a process by which we start to define, and I stress we're defining, but I think it's going to change over time, what defines institutional crypto. And this is really what this data-driven process was around. So our clients all have fiduciary duties to their customers, so we start with custody. So we maintain an internal database of what I would say is 10% of all the cryptos out there, call it the top 1,000 by market cap. We then look at how many of those thousands have, how many of those cryptocurrencies have actual institutional custody support. You know, when we first did this analysis, there was around 200 assets that had that. I think that list is growing every month. But that's kind of the first part of this process, going from 1,000 to 200, because it is the assets that have institutional custody coverage. The next part is, where do those assets trade? Now there's 550, someone says 630, I think in a previous panel. There's a lot of exchanges out there, and just like crypto assets, they're not all created equal. So we do use a ranking process by which to define high quality exchanges to differentiate from some that are perhaps not so high quality. So the next part of our process is really these assets that have institutional custody need to trade on at least 2 vetted exchanges, high quality exchanges. After that, I think go back to something that's probably quite common and simple, but market cap based on circulating supply, which if any of you are crypto data geeks, circulating supply isn't always so easy to get, but that's an important part of it. And then what I would define as a liquidity metric, which is really the consistency of turnover. Now this is what we do right now, and that creates our top 50 through a ranking process. But I 100% agree, believe that this will evolve over time, because crypto is unique. When people talk about reference data in fixed income, sure, the issuer, the coupon, these obvious things. Reference data in crypto, cool, tokenomics of that situation, of that crypto, the consensus mechanism, but also how many people are in your Discord, how many people are in your Twitter followers, a whole lot of new, unique information that we'll put into this process as we evolve what is institutional crypto. So what do we do on the terminal? So CRYP is our first kind of solution where clients will go. And really what it tries to show clients is what is going on with the top 15 by cryptos by market cap, taking out stable coins. The next question is, if this is what's happening with crypto, we try to help our clients answer the question of why. So we bring in news content from our amazing news team who you've spoken to and heard from today, as well as a lot of news coverage that we have from our Bloomberg intelligence team that you'll also hear from today, which is really our internal research group. And then also a ton of third-party curated research from the street, which was a really good view of both sides of the equation. Other things we're focused on is once we talk about what's happening in large markets of crypto, that's only 15 from our 50. And we talked a little bit about also these traditional securities, the ETFs, the bonds, a whole lot of other traditional securities that give exposure to crypto. So digital asset search, DAS, is really our next step of that strategy, which is making all this data discoverable. It's great that we onboard quality data to the terminal, but if you can't find it, then it's kind of useless for everyone. So DAS is really that next one-stop shop for all of our crypto content on the terminal. Now, again, you've heard from a lot of our news team today in moderating some of these panels, and they create some amazing content. What we try to ensure is this familiarity of approach on the Bloomberg terminal. So if you're used to equities and going IBM US Equity CN to find curated news on IBM, you can do the same thing on Bitcoin, the same thing on Ethereum, on Solana, of any of our coverage. Top crypto, you might go to top ESG, you might go to top FX to find top curated news on those markets. That's the same thing you can do with crypto. Top crypto is our equivalent to that. Of course, we talked a little bit about social media and our social media coverage through SOCI is a way that we try to bring in all those quality tweets, and how you define quality, happy to debate with you afterwards. But having a definition of what is a social media sentiment from this market is also very important.